Hello and welcome back, BookTube, to my first TBR of 2023. This is my January to be read stack, and we're going to focus in on goals for the most part. I have a very bad habit of setting my January TBR before I've set my yearly TBR, so we did it the right way this year. I set up my physical TBR shelf for 2023. That video should already be up for you to watch if you want to see everything that's there. And a couple of these books are taken from the shelf, thankfully, because usually I don't set the yearly TBR and then I pick out a bunch of books and I don't put them on that TBR shelf since I already had them picked out. So we're doing it the right way this time. So targeting goals, some sequels, a bunch of stuff I'm really excited about. So let's jump into what I'm going to be reading in January, hopefully. The first one is not directly a goal, but this is Diary of a Void by Emi Yagi. This is a translated book, translated by David Boyd and Lucy North, and this is a favorite from Willow at Books and Bow. And this is a 2022 release, so this was on my list of priority 2022 releases I really wanted to get to because I think I'm going to absolutely love it. This is following a woman in her mid-30s who has just left a job due to sexual harassment and is starting a new job, and she is finding herself increasingly being pushed into the kind of soft labor in the workplace that is not really part of her job role, like making coffee and cleaning up after everyone, because she's a woman. And so one day, in kind of resistance to that, she says, oh, well, I can't do it because I'm pregnant. She is, of course, not pregnant. So I think this is going to be exploring the pressures of being a woman in the workplace and that soft sexism that happens, that she is subject to. And I think the pregnancy element is going to be really interesting because the sort of societal expectations of pregnancy, the societal benefits or communal benefits of that potentially. So I think this is going to be a really interesting exploration, definitely in the kind of topic that I'm really curious about. So really looking forward to that one. Then we have one that I recently hauled. This is The Word for World is Forest by Ursula K. Le Guin. So this is a sequel, but it's kind of a companion novel in the Hainish cycle. And this one, I think, is a very slim novel exploring colonialism and culture clash, I believe, because we're kind of getting a violent colonization, I think, of a fairly peaceful planet, I believe. So we will see. This is the last of my Hainish novels that I've not yet read, and then I've got one more that I want to reread, and a few more of the stories. I do really want to finish out the Hainish novels this year. I always say that, though. And then my Coffee House Press books I really want to get to quickly. So this is Participation by Anna Moshevakis. I've talked about this one a bunch and don't really have any handle on the synopsis other than it's very weird, surreal sci-fi. And I really have liked Moshevakis' translation on At Night All Blood is Black, so I'm very curious to get to this novel from her. Then we have, from my goals, my bestseller goal. I went to the library. I set a goal to go check out their bestseller shelf and pick a book every month off of that shelf to bring home with me, and this month it is Other Birds by Sarah Addison Allen. This one sounds just very atmospheric, maybe Southern Gothic-y. It's set in South Carolina following a character whose mother has just died, and she, it sounds like, is taking over the apartment that her mother rented or owned. And when she moves there, she finds this cast of quirky neighbors who sound very intriguing, as well as some ghosts or ghostly elements. So that just sounds like it's a very sort of quiet, atmospheric, and interesting character-based story. So I'm really looking forward to get to this. Then we have a couple of sequels to round it out. We've got Those Brave Foolish Souls from the City of Swords by Benedict Patrick. This is the third book in the Yarns World story. These are all about storytelling and fairy folktale type setup. So I think this one is maybe Spanish inspired. They take different inspirations, but from what I could gather, it might be that. So this will have actual in-world folklore in between the stories. So that's one of the big points of this series. So you can see there's a little story in between the actual main plot. So I love that about this series. I love this series that I've read so far, and I really needed to get back to it, so we're gonna do it. And that is fantasy. That's like high fantasy with a fairy tale folklore element. Then we have another high fantasy. Most of the series that I'm reading will probably be high fantasy. This is Holy Sister by Mark Lawrence. It is the finale in a trilogy, and then I think there's another follow-up trilogy after that from a different part of this world. But this is kind of very fantastical with some maybe sci-fi elements to this world, but we're following an assassin nun school, really. So we follow a young character, Nona, who is about to be put to death, and she gets rescued by the nuns who then raise her, and she learns magical abilities at this school. So it's very much a magic school novel, and I have enjoyed this very much. It's not quite grim dark, but it's a very gritty world, very dark, but you're not in that totally nihilistic place. There is still kind of a sense of good and bad to the world. So not entirely grimdark, but it's verging there. So I've really enjoyed the first two. I'm hoping it sticks the landing, but this one is a little shorter, I think, than the others, so it should fly by. So that is my TBR for the month, for January. Very excited for my first TBR of 2023, and hopefully this will set off my year reading very well. Thank you so much for watching.